anyone likes fur balls. Do you like fur balls? Anyways, welcome. Today we have a special guest with us, learning Blender 3D. This is a shnail. She has 12 paws. Don't mind her, she will be perfect. It might be a little bit boring video, but it is very much essential for understanding the fundamentals of how Blender works. And as a reward, I am going to teach you how to make a fur ball in the end. When looking at a lot of 3D courses for beginners, I realized that only few of them explain the XYZ matrix and basically 3D dimension itself. Though maybe it is clear for some people, for me it wasn't. I was very grateful for those people who did explain that, and I feel that it is something essential for understanding Blender fundamentals. When you open Blender program, you will have this cube here, right? And it is located in 3D dimension, as you can see here. But what are the strange red and green lines? Let me pull the image to help you to understand that. I'll try to explain it as simple as possible. English is not my native language, so if you guys have questions or something is not really clear, please write me in the comments. This photo represents the 3D dimension itself. X, Y is the system of coordinates. X is red and stands for width, Y is green and stands for height, and Z is blue and stands for depth. Usually X, Y called first two dimensions and Z is called the third dimension. Why would this be important? Because when we will have to move the object, I'm going to remove this for now. So you selected the object, the system of coordinate appears. And here you can see now what we just talked about. The X is red, the green is Y, and the depth for Z is also here. So once we're going to be moving the object, we can just move it like this and put it somewhere in the system of coordinates. And you can see here that location of this object is now changed by the axis. So typing here a particular value, you can be placing object on your mesh, on your scene. We can also be moving object and the system of coordinates, just pressing on this, and the object going to be moving on that system of coordinates, which is pretty important for you to know the locations, or if you want to move this particular subject in a particular location. Because now we have just one, but imagine if you have a bunch of them, you can see that all of them have their own position in the system of coordinates here. That's how we can be moving around and defining where exactly they are. There is something called global space and object space, which is pretty important to understand as well. While recording this video, I honestly almost fell into depression. It's so complicated to be explaining this in English, it's ridiculous. World space is a coordinate system for the entire scene. What that means is that here is the center of your scene in the system of coordinates of that particular scene. So basically, if you want this object to be in the center of the scene, you're going to be putting here all zeros, and then it's going to land right in the middle of your scene. Interesting fact is that you're going to delete this object and then you're going to add the new object. It's always going to appear in the middle of your scene, which is coordinates 0, 0, zeros. Something to keep in mind that basically everything works around the system of coordinates, the XYZ matrix. So even if you can see here on this panel, basically it's not only location, it's also rotation, scale, and dimension. All of this is XYZ. So without even rotating the object, you can be putting here a value and it's going to rotate here. Or if you're going to press rotate, it also, you can see all that rotation happening by the system of coordinates, which I think is pretty fascinating. There is also something called gimbal, and when you're navigating, it's also by those XYZ axes. You can see I'm grabbing this gimbal and just rotating it, and that's how it's all happening. If you press X, it's gonna show you the view from X axis and then Y and Z. Today we learned that XYZ matrix basically represents the 3D dimension that we are working in. 3D dimension consists of XYZ axis, and we can be navigating in that 3D dimension using those axes. I remember that in the end of this boring lesson, I was promising to show you guys how to create a furball. Do you want to make a furball? Go to Add, Mesh, and go to UV Sphere. Remember to select the sphere with left click mouse and then Edit, Operator Search or F3, and then type Quick Fur. I already typed it before because I was making a lot of fur balls. So just Quick Fur. Perfect. See, this is our little fur ball. Let's make it colorful. I'm gonna make it red because I like red. Okay, and let's go here. Perfect. And if you can see, there is little fur on the bottom. So you can make it metallic if you want. And in this case, it's even more pretty. You can change the view to see it. Oh, isn't that pretty? And then let's duplicate it. Hotkey is shifting. Funny thing that you're making all this fur balls in your XYZ coordinates, and each of them have its own location and rotation and scale and dimension, and all of this in XYZ matrix. Very satisfying to have these balls. That's all what I was making in the last hour. Let us know in the comments if you understood about XYZ matrix and 3D dimension. You can also look at your fur balls in different modes. Isn't it beautiful? Or like this. This is pretty. This is really pretty. Let me know in the comments which mode of the fur ball you prefer better. I think that's my favorite. Maybe this one. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about Windows system of Blender and a little bit of overview of the editors, which I also think is pretty important to understand.